temperamentally to the making of poems. So I would like to end with a poem about education in all its psychological and indeed, I might almost say, its cosmological effects. It's a poem which links the child poet in myself, the one who sat on the forms in the infant room in Anahorish Primary School in the 1940s and learned to write with chalk on a slate. It links that child with the maker of pronouncements, who would stand not only here, but years later in Harvard University, and recite this poem in the course of graduation exercises in 1984. In fact, it was commissioned for those exercises. Overall, it's about the widening of horizons that the educational process can lead to. A widening of the inner world of consciousness, and at the same time, the integration and adaptation of that inner world to the outer world of career, curriculum vitae, and the contemporary. The poem is called Alphabets, and it goes from Anahorish to St. Columns to Harvard by way of the letters in various alphabets. Alphabets I would learn at different stages. The Roman alphabet, first of all. Then the old Irish script, which was still being taught in the 1950s. And then an awareness of the Greek alphabet. And all that Christian and classical and Renaissance culture that is associated with the Greek alphabet. But the poem ends with a reference to that famous photograph of the planet Earth viewed from space. The one where the globe appears like a luminous disc of shimmering green plasma, looking for all the world like an ovo under the microscope. And through that image, which discovers a link between the first beginnings of life at the center of the microcosm and the overall vision of our situation from the rim of the macrocosm. Through that image, the poem goes on to discover another link. The poet standing there on the platform in the great circular lecture theatre suddenly realizes that far down beneath the foundations of his intellectual and imaginative self, there stands a little boy looking up at letters picked out in plaster on a gable of a byre in a county dairy farmyard. A little boy wide-eyed on the threshold of learning. Alphabets. Remember we used to say, Alphabets by Seamus Heaney. A shadow his father makes with joined hands and thumbs and fingers, nibbles on the wall like a rabbit's head. He understands, he will understand more when he goes to school. There he draws smoke with chalk the whole first week, then draws the forked stick that they call a Y. This is writing. A swan's neck and swan's back make the two he can see now as well as say. Two rafters and a cross tie on the slate are the letter some call A, some call A. There are charts, there are headlines, there is a right way to hold the pen and a wrong way. First it is copying out, and then English, marked correct with a little leaning O. Smells of inkwells rise in the classroom hush. A globe in the window tilts like a coloured O. Declensions sang on air like a hosanna, as column after stratified column, book one novella menta latina, marbled and minatory, rose up on him. For he was fostered next in a stricter school, named for the patron saint of the oak wood, where classes changed to the pealing of a bell, and he left the Latin forum for the shade of new calligraphy that felt like home. The letters of this alphabet were trees. The capitals were orchards in full bloom. The lines of script like briars coiled in ditches. Here in her snooded garment and bare feet, all ringleted in assonance and wood notes, the poet's dreams stole over him like sunlight and passed into the Tenebrous thickets. He learns his other writing. He is the scribe who drove a team of quills on his white field. Round the cell door, the blackbirds dart and dab. Then self-denial, fasting, the pure cold. By rules that harden the farther they reach north, he bends to his desk and begins again. Christ's sickle has been in the undergrowth. The script grows bare and Merovingian. The globe is spun. He stands in a wooden home. He alludes to Shakespeare. He alludes to Graves. Time has bulldozed the school and school window. Balers drug bales like printers, where stooped sheaves made lambdas on the stubble once at harvest, and the delta face of each potato pit was patted straight and moulded against frost. All gone, with the omega that kept watch above each door, the good luck horseshoe. Yet shape note language, absolute on air, as Constantine's sky-lettered in hoc signo can still command him. Or the necromancer who would hang from the dome ceiling of his house a figure of the world with colours in it, so that the figure of the universe, and not just single things, would meet his sight when he walked abroad. As from his small window, the astronaut sees all that he has sprung from. The risen, aqueous, singular, lucent O, like a magnified and buoyant ovum. Or like my own wide, pre-reflective stare, all agog at the plasterer on his ladder, skimming our gable, and writing our name there with his trowel point, letter by strange letter. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here.